So I'll make it very brief. Omar's our guest tonight from our partner Sabeel in Jerusalem. He's the director of Sabeel there. We were trying to work out between the three of us about 5 minutes ago how many years it had been he's been director. We put it at 5 or maybe 6, but we're pleased that he didn't know any better than us. So obviously a while now, and he's very established in that role. Omar lives in Jerusalem. He's got 2 children, a son and daughter, and lives with his wife there. And yeah, it's just a privilege to have you here, Omar. We're really looking forward to hearing from you about the work of Sabeel Jerusalem and what's happening today in Palestine and Israel. So I'm going to hand over. We're going to have about 20 minutes to hear from Omar, and then we will have a very short time for questions and answers. I would encourage you, if it's something that you can perhaps ask Omar another time, maybe hold off. We've got quite a big agenda to get through, and we just wanted to give Omar the maximum amount of time to actually sort of talk to us. So over to you, Omar, and let us know. I'll let you know sort of 5 minutes from the end.
Thank you, Charlotte. First, thank you all for having me with you in this important meeting. I know that time is limited and there's plenty of things that needs to be done, but I cannot stress how important Sabeel is. For me personally, for the Palestinian Christian community, and for the Palestinian and the church worldwide. This is actually a few days ago, Friday, we had with Friends of Sabeel North America, they had like a day to learn about Sabeel, and around like 70, 80 people joined that meeting. I saw some of the people from our friends from the UK have also joined. So Sabeel came as a response as to the theological Nakba. The Bible was used to justify our suffering. We know this through Christian Zionism. When we look back 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago, Palestinian Christians didn't know how to respond when people came and justified Zionism or what was happening to us as Palestinians, the dispossession of our lands and our properties through the Bible. Because we're a very religious community. We are strong believers in the church, in God. We respect the Bible highly. Christianity is part of our identity, and so is also being Palestinian. And when the Bible was used to justify the injustice that was happening to us, it left us speechless. It took actually over 50 years for Palestinian Christians, or 40 years for Palestinian Christians, to get the courage to sit together and say, let's look for answers. Let's see, what does it really mean to be a Christian? Does our Lord justify our oppression, or is teaching us to get rid of our oppression and seek liberation? So this is Sabeel. And I say at least 70% of the work of Sabeel, and what we stress on, is community grassroots Bible study groups. So many of you are aware of famous Palestinian theologians. 50 years ago, there were no Palestinian theologians. Actually, for almost 2,000 years, there were very few Palestinian theologians, a part of the early church, of course, and the early disciples. But there has been complete silence from the Holy Land. There were no theologians, very few, who were writing or being respected internationally. Today, there isn't even a single Christian conference without, most likely they have 1 or 2 Palestinian theologians. Seminaries teach the books of Palestinian theology. Sabeel still believes that it's the ground, the Holy Land is very rich with theologians, with people who are trying to see what does it mean to be faithful to God. So 80% or 70%, I would say, of our work is helping Bible study groups throughout the country to learn and to interpret the Bible through their own context. And actually, this is one of our last meetings that we've had. And each person in this picture, these are not all of our Bible study facilitators, but each one is a Bible study facilitator. Just before COVID, we had like 42 Bible study groups throughout the country. Today, we're down to 26. COVID has been really harsh on us. But they are the places where mainly young people and women groups, and they're amazing. By the end of this month, end of September, there will be the first time a female delegation of group of Bible study facilitators who will go to Jordan to represent the churches in Palestine on theology and the environment. This has never happened before in Palestine. This might be like I mean, not a very a common news item in many churches today around the world, but in Palestine, that's very unique. And I would say each person who's going represents a specific village and a specific community, and they're truly theologians. They're not on the radar. Anybody who interacts with these groups knows for sure that there's hope for the church in the Middle East. There's a future. There's a bright future in the Middle East. But not only taking care of the Bible study group, Sabeel also takes centered around the Gospels, the readings of the week on a weekly basis through the Thursday service, which Reverend Naeem leads. But we also have sometimes a Wednesday service that is in Arabic on Zoom. I don't think anybody who's on this meeting attends. So it just shows how much important the Bible is for us. And the new generation is developing Kumi. Kumi is just saying we need not only just to say that we have a story to share, but it says that we are in ownership of our destiny and we're going to change the realities on the ground. So Kumi is the sessions that we hold on Tuesday, or the website, or the nonviolent actions are one part of the Kumi theology. It's moving from only theology that is being preached or talked about in Bible study groups or in sermons, but it's something that is practiced. So we are, through Kumi, we're trying to bring everybody together. We're trying to bring everybody together and act together in a way to challenge injustice. So that's why it makes sense. Each week we're introducing a different organization that is doing work. We like to share the wealth and the beauty and the diversity of the Palestinian community and the pro-Palestinian community, whether local or international, to our constituency. But similar to Kumi, we have the online sessions or the Kumi nonviolent actions that are held on a weekly basis. We also do nonviolent action or interventions in the community. So Sabeel, in the last year, we have introduced our self-insurance project. We have 4,000 people, members from the church. In the first year, we were able to reach 10% of the Christian community. That's great outreach. Completely independent. The Mennonite church has helped us a little bit with organizing, but it's 99% or even more of the whole project is being funded by the community. That is even bigger than the first church living in community, because the numbers were not that high at the early church. So that's the first time when everybody thought that the church is suffering, it's COVID, the church is very weak. We were able to show actually to break a world record. I think the biggest self-insurance that happened in the US until this day, when we researched it, it was like 1,500 people in the US within 5 different denominations came together. We got 13 different denominations to come together and 4,000 in 1 year at a time of a pandemic, living under occupation. This shows that there is hope, that there is beauty, that there's something that the church is offering to the rest of the world. We are also in initiatives. We don't really like what is being taught to Palestinian guides. Most Palestinian guides are forced to speak or to share the Israeli narrative. Today, we also had a session with Palestinian guides. We're reintroducing the story. We're giving people courage to share the Palestinian theology, the Palestinian narrative. People are no longer afraid to speak about Nakba. You walk in the old city and it's like a political debate now. We've been blessed to work with over 1,000 guides in the past 2 years. And each guide, it is now people are more vocal. When people are a community, they're willing to speak that yes, there is an occupation. No, the Bible does not justify our oppression. Our community has been traumatized, has been bullied for so many years not to be able to share their stories. Now people refuse to be silent. This brings us hope. That's a Kumi moment too, especially that Israel for 30 years have banned or has not allowed Palestinian guides to study guiding, not only to get permits and licenses, even to study this topic. So for 30 years, now people are back, and it's creating a problem to Israel. Actually, many of the Israeli guides now are contacting Sabeel and asking for more resources and so on. You cannot keep the truth silent. Truth eventually comes out. But Sabeel is also known for many people within our community for just being an ecumenical center. This is where all of the different churches come together. For many who follow the news in Palestine and Israel, they remember the fights that happen in churches, or the debates and the challenges, or the dogmatic wars that happen between the churches. Many parts of the world, but also very vividly in Palestine and Israel, in Jerusalem, in the Nativity Church. Today, people know the church that it's a group that comes together. Even in many times, the other day we were in Nablus, and the Muslim community was saying, why can't we end the war between Sunnis and Shia? Why can't we be like Christians in Palestine, that they work together, they live together? They don't know that this wasn't a reality 20 or 30 years. I know Reverend Naim was being very much attacked because he was taught that he was breaking dogmas when he was bringing people together. They were not allowed to meet. Now people come together, they work together, they pray together, they love each other, and they're open and openly, if they want, they disagree with each other. So that is something that is really beautiful, but not only on the level of lay people, but also on clergy. Every year we hold clergy retreats. We have already over 60 clergy who are joining us from Palestine and Israel, who are meeting this October at the Mount of Beatitude. Those clergy are not theologians. Most of the people do not know them, but they are the ones who do baptism. They are the ones who visit the sick people. They are the ones who do reconciliation in the community. They are the ones who do communion every week, lead devotions. This is our community. We work with them slowly. Some of them we have to unlearn what they have been taught by foreign missionaries or by foreign seminaries. So it's a lot of hard work. It's easier to teach people. It's very difficult to unteach people what they have already learned, especially from seminaries or their own church leaders. It's a very slow process to bring reconciliation among brothers and sisters in Christ. So that is something that I think Sabeel is very proud of, and that's something that we have been very stubborn in maintaining, the ecumenism among the different churches. But we don't do it only hiding in certain convents or places. We do through the whole country. We do worship, where we bring them together and we pray together with the community. And since COVID, we started actually to work with students, school students. So in Jerusalem, in Bethlehem, in Ramallah, we bring all of the Christian students from all of the schools. Sometimes we have 500 kids students from all of the schools in Jerusalem. They come and they pray together. What is really amazing is when I used to see them sitting together, I thought that this is a miracle. What is amazing now, it is when our young students look at church leaders sitting all together, they don't find anything that is amusing. That's so beautiful that for them, that's the norm. They sit together. Why would they fight? They're Christians. That is something that has changed within my life period. That is something that is really beautiful. This is God doing miracles. Sabeel has been blessed with Zoom, so we hold so many now online meetings. We got a chance. We just noticed that over 900 people attended our online meetings, different people on our CUMI meetings from last year. Although we sometimes had only 100 or 200 people attending an event, sometimes as low as 60, but they're not always the same people. And they visit once more than multiple times a year. And that is something that we were not able to reach before COVID or the introduction of Zoom. So now we have a closer relationship with Sweden, with Australia, with the UK, with the US, with so many of our friends. But also we come together with the community. Sabeel is also known in the country that we bring together people, activists, the Christian community, the Muslim community. This Friday we were in Nablus. We brought Christians, Muslims, Samaritans together to address issues that the community is facing on a weekly basis. That is extremely important because it's when we are faced with the challenges, they're huge. But when we come together, we encourage each other, and our challenges become somehow like very trivial because everybody is able to do something on their own, and everybody is able, and we are all together are able to make to change things. And actually, many times we really think that this is, we should have aimed for more. We understand the power that the community has, and the church is community. Sabeel also is known to be a great organizer of educational trips, networking trips. So we connect the people from Jerusalem with the people in the Golan, with Nazareth, the people with the West Bank. So throughout the whole country, we're mixing groups. We focus mainly on women, groups who sit together, share their stories, share their narratives, and connect and become friends. That is extremely important. We also work with youth and scouts. We hold always trips to bring out the kids from cities to areas C, where they understand how the people are challenging the settlements, the occupation, where people encourage each other. So we want our kids to understand the value of the land and the importance of solidarity and the importance of saying truth to power. And it's important to expose them to courageous people. We inspire them not only through Batman and Spider-Man and all of what the media does. We inspire them with people like Dawood Nasser from Tent of Nations, people like Mazen Komsiye, people like Father Julio, people who are doing the good fight through nonviolence and trying to make the world a better place. But also we are always under attack, because we are the first to come and say we need to show solidarity. We were the first. The church was the first to go to Sheikh Jarrah. The church was the first to visit the 6 organizations. Now there's the 7 organizations under attack. And in a way, people think of the church as the most peaceful place for the people who are the outsiders. They don't know about the storms that are happening inside the church. But for people who think the church is like the most peaceful and loving place, people who are outsiders, and when they see that the church is not afraid and is going to Sheikh Jarrah, is going to these organizations, everybody say we should be actually doing more. So it is in a way, we're, by our weakness sometimes, we become leaders. People see us as an inspiration. We ridicule challenges that we face. But also sometimes we do Sabeel is also very much known not only just to confront the occupation, the unjust policies of the Israeli government. We also have many challenges with the PA and unfortunately many of our Palestinian political parties. So when the Palestinian Authority shamelessly kills a Palestinian activist, non-violent activist, and threatens that nobody should object to it, we go and we give condolences, and we're in the streets, and sometimes we're beaten up and arrested and threatened. And the same thing when bullies and outlaws attack members of our community, we are the first to be in the streets and to be with these communities. This is extremely difficult and challenging, because people think Palestinians, we live in a utopia. Our only problem is the Israeli occupation. That's not true. We have, like every society, we have so many problems. We have religious extremism. We have people who are criminals. We have outlaws. We have corruption. We have all kinds of problems that everybody is exposed to. So a part of what we do and challenge the Israeli government, we also challenge our own community. And sometimes it's more difficult to challenge your own community when they're doing bad things than to just only to challenge the outsider. Sabeel is also very much is a pioneer in research and identifying problems. Sabeel has been for the last 5 years identifying that there's a serious problem in the Israeli curriculum when it speaks about the church, how the Israeli curriculum speak about the church. Almost every couple of weeks or even more, there's a church that is being attacked, a priest is being beaten up. Our cemeteries are being destroyed by Israeli religious groups, not because we're Palestinians, it's only because we are Christians. For many Israelis or many Jews who live in Israel, they only understand that the church is the source of anti-Semitism and persecution. Although that is right, that is true. Now they feel that this is, unfortunately, that is part of our sad history. But for them, they feel that now they are no longer a minority in a Christian majority. They are actually the majority, and the church is the minority, and it's time to pay back. And I mean, that's why the church is suffering a lot from Israeli religious extremists. The churches are cowards. in the West. Nobody's going to open this topic. Nobody wants to talk about this. They just think that this is just something out of our own imagination. It's embarrassing. Now, actually, most of the people who are writing about these issues are people, are Israeli Jews who realize that there's a problem. There's a very good book. I wish you that, I hope that you would get it. It's a research book that was done, that Jesus Was a Jew, published by 3 Israeli scholars, Israeli Jewish scholars. This is a book you should read. It is how the church is being portrayed in the Israeli curriculums. There are different Israeli curriculums, but in all of them, Christians are seen as demons, and the church is seen in a very negative way, to say the least. But also we have the same problem within the Palestinian curriculum. People only, many, and sadly, it's Christian identity, Christian presence, Christian history is being ignored also by the majority Palestinian community. We're not talking about like Muslim movements. We're speaking about secular groups like Fatah, who is in charge of the PA, at least in the West Bank. So we have a fight with them. The people in the Ministry of Education hate Sabeel. When they hear Sabeel, they get like, they say, please, not again, because we come and we complain. We love complaining, and not only, and we, you know, they're becoming. We've reached a point that we really don't know how to complain enough. They refuse to listen to advice. They refuse to fix their problems. So every part of our life as Palestinians and Palestinian Christians is a battle. We have so many layers of injustice. Not the occupation is actually one of the major layers of injustice, but we have so many layers. And this is, I have the privilege because I'm a male, and females have it a bigger problem, and even younger people have it a bigger problem. There's so many forms of discrimination that are happening in Palestine. And I mean, I can't believe that we need to talk, should our churches be justice oriented? All of the discussions need to be around justice, because it is, what does it mean if we're a church and we're completely, there is so many layers of injustice, even where you sit in the church, what kind of language is the liturgy, who is allowed communion and who's not allowed communion. Everything is a battle. There's nothing for free. It's exactly like the time of Jesus, plenty of problems. But Sabeel also, again, we started with the Bible study groups, but we continue also seek guidance from Palestinian theologians. Honestly, if you want to learn about Palestinian liberation theology, we have like 10 new booklets. I haven't updated this presentation. They address so many different points. The Sabeel wave of prayer, we're commenting on what's happening in Palestine in so many different languages. It's worth looking at. The cornerstone is always, we're trying to touch on issues that nobody wants to touch on. So even everybody's saying that the situation is apartheid in Palestine, Israel. We've said this in 2004. It's much worse than apartheid. Apartheid is it's only a connecting period. Israel doesn't care about apartheid. Israel wants the whole land without the people. So apartheid is just only that, to maintain the status quo until they find a better solution. The Israeli elections now, they're going to, most likely, the polls say they're gonna vote people into position. Important people will be in the government who have openly said, kick the Palestinians out of the country, put them on trucks and leave them. That's the very sad reality. They don't care about apartheid, they just want the whole land. We're also producing a number of documentaries either with friends or with our own documentary. We're creating now a documentary on Holy Fire on Easter. That we get very much bullied by the Israeli police. We try to go to the High Court. We got a decision. Nobody listens. There's no respect to the Israeli High Court, not from us Palestinians, from the Israeli police. The church is being mocked. Church leaders, when we write them, they're stupid. We wrote even to the church leaders, even in the UK, even the Bishop Assam wrote a letter just saying that what happened during Holy Fire, how we Palestinian Christians get ridiculed. And we got a number of responses from many of your bishops in the UK. With all due respect, they're either idiots or they're pretending to be idiots. I don't know what is worse. This is something that we've reached the stage, we cannot tolerate these games. We're talking about us, our families, our relatives. We're getting beaten up just to go to church. And, you know, a bishop sits in his nice office, I don't know, wherever he is, and writes us, or she writes us, a smart email just saying, you know, trying to pick point and, you know, why did you say it in this way? Not like me and my kids got beaten up last Easter. They're like, why are you using this terminology? What do you think about this? You know, and we've had enough. It's time for Kumi. We need to show that the church belongs to the people, and the church is based and anchored in justice, in love, and reconciliation, and truth-telling. There's no time to play the theological games or the political games that the church loves to play. Let them play it in their empty churches. We need to be in the streets with the people, and this is what we are trying to be at Sabeel. Church leaders have no power. We don't need to go to the World Council of Churches and beg them to be ethical. If they are not ethical, we don't want to deal with them. And that was our position as Sabeel. We're not going to go and ask them, could you please speak about the occupation? Could you speak about why Palestinians are not having enough water? Shame on them if they want to be silent. Shame on us if we expect their voices only to matter. Thank you all, friends, and I hope I have been doing some incitement.
Thank you, Omar. As always, challenging.